Hello, my family. All right, it is now becoming, the heat is starting to rise. As of today, we have this until Saturday before our temps will start dropping into basically starting our fall-like weather. So that will take us basically into the beginning of next week, which is the end of August, starting the beginning of September. And at this point, I really wanted to start some seeds, but I have sugar snaps coming up at this point, and I'm worried with this excessive, and we're talking some pretty bad heat, the worst that we've seen all summer this year. So I'm having to watch that. In the meantime, I'm not going to plant anything like I wanted to, like lettuce and kale and Swiss chard, and I'm holding off. I am going to wait until our temps are back into the 80s instead of hundreds. We are at 98 today, but with heat index, and that's the way it's going to be for the rest of the week. We're going to be up in the hundreds, but that's just regular temp. That's not including our heat index. I am going to take this opportunity to can my chicken as hot as it is, and it is still hot right now, so I have to get this done. So I'm going to go ahead and do a tutorial on how to can chicken so I can get that on my shelf. So, and another thing I wanted to say, sincerely, y'all, I apologize. I had, my last video was a brand new phone that I bought with all the bells and whistles, to be honest with you. It was an S23 Plus. For the first time in my life and ever dealing with my provider, my cell phone provider and service, I have to say I had my first buyer's remorse. I am sincerely apologetic for the volume on that phone. The salesman who tried to sell me that phone couldn't understand why I have, which honestly he made fun and laughed at me with my A51 phone. Y'all, I have been doing almost 200 videos with this phone and never had an issue with you or anything. And so I was quite pleased with my cheap little phone. But this man literally laughed at me for this. He even told me I couldn't get a trade-in deal, which I'm okay. Okay, so I could hook it up to Wi-Fi and still use it if I had to. So I became very familiar with my phone, and it has worked great. He honestly sold me by his selling points. I've learned very hard research before I buy. And so I went based by his deals of this is a great phone, bells, whistles, the whole 9 yards, only to find out there was a major lack in the volume when creating videos. And honestly, I do believe that that phone did not do half as much quality as the one I have now. So I will tell you, I have returned that phone. I am going back to the A series, but the one I had, the one I really wanted, was the A53. They're out of stock, so I am pretty much stuck with the A54. I really hope that that one will work, but it's on order and I'm waiting for it to come in. So in the meantime, we got hooked up back to my old phone. We are with you again, and this is what we're going to work with. So I am so sorry that I had put you all through that, and so hopefully this has changed. I have one more cycle of going through, transferring everything. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess, and I can't wait for this to be done. But anyways, so today we are doing canning chicken, and let's get to this. Okay, so our first step, y'all, is we're going to trim as much of this fat off of our chicken. That is my preference. I am using chicken breast. The ones we did is bulk style, actually. I went and got 10 pounds, so we're dealing with 13 pounds, by the way. I have 10 pounds of chicken breast that we got from Sam's, and then I have 3 more pounds that I got from Aldi's. So I am going to cut these up between 1 to 2 inch cubes. And we are going to parcook these. So I'm looking at about a chunk, about that size right there. So Ball suggests that we parcook these, whether you roast them, boil them, you can fry them up, and that's probably what I am going to do, is fry these up in my electric skillet, because it is so hot. I don't want to put my oven at 425 degrees to do this. I can just basically, or I can even choose just to boil these, honestly. I do want to try to get that, they call snowflake on it. Try to remove that to make my jars look prettier. That is the chicken fat that comes to the top. So I'm trying to clean these up as best as I possibly can without sacrificing the meat. So at this point, this is what we're going to do. What we are going to do, I'm going to try something new. I've never tried it before. All I've done before was just plain chicken, and that way I could season it up anytime I wanted to, or any way I wanted to in any of my dishes. I am going to try and season this up. There is a lady that I like to follow. She does some amazing canning flavored dishes, and her name is the Thrifty Housewife with Carol. She has a very nice, what I would consider flavorful canning chicken with herbes de Provence and lemon pepper. I'm going to actually try that this time. So I'm just going to continue to cut these in about 2-inch cubes like so, and once I get that done, we will be back. Okay, y'all, so we've got all of our chicken cut up, all 3 pounds of it. I decided that I'm actually going to parboil my chicken. That way I can bring all that fat up to the top, that white snowy fat up to the top, so that I have a much cleaner chicken. So now I'm just going to add this to, well, not like that, I'm not. I'm just going to add this to my pot, fill it up with water. I'm going to bring it up to a boil. Boil these until they're just about, I don't know, maybe 80-90% done, because they will be cooking again in the pressure canner for 75 minutes. So we're just going to go ahead, get this in this pot and get this started. Once these are done, we're going to go ahead and start canning these up. At the same time, I'm going to be making my broth, which will consist of chicken broth. Now you can use water, and a lot of people like to use better than bouillon. Absolutely fine, you can do that. I know a lot of people who do, and I've done it before. I've even used the knockoff versions actually of better than bouillon, and it has worked great because it does get pressure canned. So you can use your own chicken or turkey stocks, like I can choose to do so as well. So any broth that you will use, I tend to want to keep it as a chicken broth. I would like to just use a broth instead of just plain water, because I would like that flavor in my meat. So, and I can use it still. It's a mild flavor, and I can use it with all of my dishes. So we're just going to get these cooked up. I've got a good stock pot full of our chicken. I did make sure there was no gristle and no fat on this as much as possible, making it as lean as possible. So once we get this cooked, we will be back and we will start filling up our jars. Okay, so one thing I wanted to say before I went any further, if you do parboil this, make sure that you get your water in your stock pot up over at least 1 to 2 inches over your chunks of chicken. You want that chicken covered in here. So now we're going to go ahead, set this on the stove, and get this boiling. Okay, y'all, so our chicken is now parboiled, and what I was talking about is on the snow effect. It's just like with the canned hamburger, you got your fat in there. Well, this is considered fat from the chicken, and to get a much nicer, cleaner looking jars, this is what they call snowflake, snow effect on the chicken. I'm actually going to be rinsing this off. Again, it's not necessary. It's what everybody's preference is, but I am going to rinse mine off. So I will be adding flavor due to the herbs and through the broth. So So it doesn't matter for me cleaning this off. So I am going to rinse this off, set this aside, and get this ready. I'm currently, at the moment, getting the broth ready, and we are getting just about finished to start canning our chicken. Alright y'all, so here we go. We have, our chicken is cleaned off to the best that we can. It's not saying I'm going to completely get rid of all of this snow effect, but I did not do this last year, and I will say that my jars, they were good, don't get me wrong, but the jars looked really cloudy. So I'm going to try this method this year and see how it does. But our chicken's ready, our broth is ready, and we are set to start canning our chicken. So I will go ahead and show you what we're going to do first. First, I'm going to take my jars out of my canner. They are preheated, and I am going to go ahead and do this. Now, I have had some of y'all tell me with short, tight, oosh, that was not cool. Hold on, y'all. Yeah, wow. Don't be me on that. Short, tight lids. You don't have to heat them up, and I get that, but let me tell you some of the experiences that I've come across, just so you are aware of it. I have done some where I followed, just like everybody says, Ball says we don't have to do that no more, and this, that. Well, today, I periodically, after a couple months or so, I will always check my pantry. I will double check my seals, make sure everything is still sealed up, and go from there. Today was my check day in my pantry, and I had a jar that became unsealed with a short, tight lid. Now, that was for one of my broths. You can do you. I choose to try to heat my rings up, even if it's slightly, instead of just cold sealing any of my jars. This is not the first time that I had lids that came undone, so I would suggest you check your pantry at least once a month. Make sure your lids are still intact and that none of them are removed, because I am getting some that are becoming undone. So that's just something I would throw out there. Like I said, I will never tell anybody what to do. I choose to heat my lids because it just gives me a little bit more rest assurance that I will get a better seal. So now I'm going to take my chicken over here, and I am going to fill my jars, same as the hamburger meat, to my 1-inch head space. Now, you can't get as much chicken because these are bigger, but you can still get quite a bit of chicken for meals out of this. This would make great fajitas, chilies if you wanted to. You can make chicken salads, whether it be pasta or whatever. Beautiful chicken soup, lemon agolomono soup, which is the Mediterranean lemon soup. Just like today, we are actually going to be making for supper tonight, because there is some that are catching colds around here with the temperature changing like it is. We're having Italian wedding soup tonight, so, and I may do a recipe on that. There is a way you can do it for every area in the family, from all-American, Mediterranean, and diabetic, with Italian wedding soup. So it can be absolutely amazing. We're going to go ahead and just keep pulling some of that fat still off of here that I don't want sitting in my jars. I'm going to go ahead and just keep filling these up. I don't want to fill them too full, but I don't want to underfill them either. So, and you just got to shift them around just a little bit, just like you do the hamburger. So that looks about right. So I shift these around, let them go in there. Again, I want my 1-inch right at that bevel bubble, right over here at that edge right there. So I'm just taking my jars. that's a good one. That's a good one. I want to make sure that they would cover with liquid. So again, now I don't know exactly how much we are going to get out of 13 pounds of chicken breast, but we are about to find out. It depends on how they are cut as well, and how much you can put into a jar. Now these are not the great quality, but they are quality enough that I am satisfied of putting chicken on my shelf. I'm gonna go ahead, I can put one more in here. Now I'm just gonna piece them in here basically, and get one more in this one, maybe just one more from there, and then right here. So there's 4 jars. Now I am going to add my seasonings. At this point, when it comes to herbs, you can choose to leave herbs completely out of these jars. I stated that I am going to do herbs based on a mix that Carol from the Thrifty Homestead, or the Thrifty Housewife, has suggested, but you can use salt. If you do use salt, it is a half a teaspoon per pint jar, 1 teaspoon per quart jar. Also, you use canning salt. You can use Italian seasoning if that be the case. I would do about a 1/4 teaspoon of that. You don't want something extremely powerful, as pressure canning can enhance flavors. What I'm actually going to be doing is lemon pepper and herbs of Provence, and I'm going to be using 1/4 teaspoon of each per jar. So let's see, I need my 1/4. And I'm just now, after putting my chicken in here, I'm just going to spread my seasonings on top of my chicken before I add my broth. Now I'm going to do 1/4 of lemon pepper each. And then I am going to top it with chicken broth. So I'm going to come over here and put my container. There's some more of that fat. Put this back on here. Bring my broth on over. And we will go ahead and fill this up. Now, again, this is 1-inch headspace, and I brought my broth up to a boil, boiled it for about 5 minutes, and then started filling up my jars. So everything is nice and hot. My jars have been preheating in my pressure canner. Again, meat does take a while, but it is so much worth it in the end, folks, when you go in the winter time and you just want something quick and simple, and you can grab it right off your shelf, or the prices have gotten so out of reach and you can look back, smile, and say, you know what, I'm glad I had this because I have a protein source sitting on my shelf that I can feed my family. So there are many ways, there are many ways of prepping, and many reasons why we prep, whether it be to income, whether it be for prices, shortages, what have you. It's a good idea to have meat or proteins on your shelves. Now we're going to take and debubble them like we do all of our foods. At this point, I'm going to go around all my edges in my centers. Again, if I lose any of my liquid, I just fill it back up. I'm just going to go and do this to all of my jars, just like so. I am using 4-jar lids. I had a great success out of them my last round, and I am going to go ahead and use them again this round. And now, after testing these, I actually may go into actually learning to purchase these online, because I did have some great success. Quite amazing, actually. They didn't even buckle, which surprised me. Now I'm going to go back and check my jars again, make sure everybody is 1 inch. as it tends to lower some of it when you go to, those look pretty good, so we'll test it one other way using our measuring stick at the 1-inch mark. Perfect. Very good. Very good. That one can stand just a little bit more. This one too. Okay. Now I'm trying to make sure that my chicken is covered as much as possible, so I will shift my chicken around, make sure it's underneath my liquid, just like so. And then I am going to add my lids after I clean my rims. Now we're going to take, I like to use vinegar because vinegar tends to cut grease quite well. So I'm going to clean off the rims of my jars with my vinegar and paper towels or cloth. Make sure they're good and cleaned all the way around my rims. After I clean these, I try not to touch the rims either to get whatever oils I may have on my own fingers or whatever. I don't want to get that dirty again. So, especially if I'm going to go through this much trouble cleaning my rims. Go ahead and get some more on here. Clean this one off. Cut that grease off of it. Just like so. And now I'm going to come back, kind of dry them off a little bit. And my lids have been just sitting in hot water at the moment. Yeah. So now I'm just going to, that one had 2 of them. And I'm just going to place these on top of each jar. Just like so. Now I'm going to take my rings and I will be right back. You ever notice that you can be prepared as you possibly can, yet always forget something? Well, I forgot the rings, so again, I'm just doing this finger tight. And then here we have, look how beautiful, y'all. That is some pretty looking chicken. So now I'm just going to keep, again, I'm just doing this finger tight. Placing this in my canner. And then going for my next round. I'm going to go ahead and finish off this round and we will be right back. Okay, so we have 9 pints out of 13 pounds of chicken breast. Now we're going to take and seal off our canner and get this ready for that first 10-minute steam. So I have checked, made sure that my stopper or my valve that goes open and shut that holds the pressure, I make sure that this is easily movable. Here I make sure that I can see through it clearly, nothing blocking the holes anywhere around this. Everything is secure. And now I am going to secure my lid onto my canner. Seal it shut. And this is a new seal, so I am still greasing it quite well. So I am now just going to take this, leave it sit, and I'm going to wait for that steam to be steady flowing and then time it from there, just like all the other canning from here, that pressure steaming for 10 minutes. Alright y'all, so I took a breather here while my canner is coming up to that first round of steam. I actually took this opportunity to clean up the kitchen, control the mess this way it doesn't get out of hand. These are some tips and tricks to do when you're canning so you don't get overloaded. These are some of the things that I learned the hard way when I first became a canner about 4 or 5 years ago. This was water bath everything. So when I first started canning, I just figured, well, I'm just going to wait to the end to clean everything up. And honestly, it got so chaotic and so out of mess, and with a small kitchen, I had no space anywhere. So now I take it in sections and I will clean up after everything, whether it be after cutting up the meat and prepping, whether it be loading up the canner, whatever I need to do, I will clean up after each section. We are getting ready to do a Sam's Club haul very soon, I believe, and this round will consist of meals in a jar. Now, I will say these meals that I'm doing here with meats, for instance, I will give you some tips about this. Sam's Club so far is becoming the top rank place for us to be able to buy our meats from. Number one, the majority of this 10-pound came from, or 13-pound chicken breast came from Sam's Club. The big bag, 10-pound bag, I think we paid about $26 for it, $26, $27. Now, mind you, I'm going to tell you the chicken breasts were about 1.5 size of my hand. They were huge, y'all. And that was where the biggest portion of my 9 pints of jars came from. The 3-pound from Aldi's, now if you're in a pinch, this will work. I mean, you don't have to buy by the bulk. It will work, but just spend wisely. Look for your better quality and where you can get the most for your money, basically. Now, I did a 10-pound thing of hamburger at Sam's Club, and at that time, you remember, 10 pounds gave me 13 pints of hamburger meat. Now, my daughter-in-law had the same amount at Walmart, and for about the same price, and she actually only got, I think it was 12 jars. So I got one more extra than she did, if I'm not mistaken, or she might have got the same amount. So either one will go, but I will tell you those were 85-20, I think it was. So it wasn't the leanest of leans, but it was leaner. 80-20 will actually work. I would veer away as much as possible, going any less than that when it comes to canning meat. You want more meat than you want fat. You don't want to have to throw away your money. And honestly, you go any fattier than 80-20, and you're just going to ask for less on your shelf and basically throwing away more of your money. So shop frugally, shop smart, and it's one of those things, again, is work smarter, not harder. So I tend to stick to 80-20 when I'm doing hamburger. The next round that I will be doing when I talked about meals in a jar would be chili. I have some chili recipes that I am fixing to do to put on my shelf. I've been doing this for 2 years. It's been an absolute hit on my family, and not only is it amazing, but it works in very much every area of what this homestead is about, from low carb, Mediterranean, all American. It will work in every section. One, it has all natural foods and flavorings, so there's none of that hidden sugar stuff in that at all. Two, that would pertain basically to the diabetic side. Two, for the Mediterranean side, it has fresh vegetables in it and red meat, of course, but you can eat them periodically. So there's no preservatives, in other words, in this dish. And then there's the All-American, which All-American, there is absolutely no restrictions whatsoever. So the meals that I'm making, or the meats that I'm doing, covers all 3 areas: Mediterranean, diabetic, and All-American. So this is going to work for everybody's shelf. Now, some chicken ideas for your shelf for all classes as well. One being, you can make, like I've already spoken, you can make chicken soup. Now, for the diabetic, instead of noodles or rice, you can basically leave it like it is. Maybe add some turnips in it, and add some potatoes, and or like turnips in place of potatoes, and have that in place of your pasta, and still have a beautiful chicken dish. Or like tonight, I'm actually using ground turkey for my meatballs, but instead of a ground turkey or meatballs in an Italian wedding, you can make an Italian wedding soup, just use chicken chunks. You can make chicken fajitas, perfect for every area. Matter of fact, we had chicken fajitas last night. My diabetic husband and Mediterranean both worked, along with the All-American. So a few other dishes you can make, and I will go like the Forrest Gump of shrimp. We will go with chicken. All the ideas that you can work with your canned chicken. You can make a chicken casserole, chicken salad, chicken pasta salad, chicken Toscana. There is so many ideas. A chicken Alfredo, chicken au gratin if you wanted to do so. Just so many areas that you can do. Chicken and dumplings, even low carb. So there is so much that you can do with this chicken, and that's why I highly encourage you in the times that we're in, y'all. I'm not telling anybody to just go crazy. What I am telling you, in the times that we are in, a lot of families right now, including mine, honestly, including mine, we are joining together. It is finding that, and is it easy? No, my daughter-in-law will tell you it's not easy. However, as time goes on, we are adapting, because we were two families living our own lives, and a situation caused everything to change. Now, in the situation that we have, it's different than what's going on today. However, it can also pertain to the same thing. Our economy is hurting many families, and a lot of them will probably start communing together. So we take a tiny kitchen, and how me and my daughter-in-law do this, which maybe help you and your family, we will divide the stove, basically. She cooks on one side, I cook on the other, and we do absolutely amazing that way. Occasionally, I may choose, like last night, I did a one-pot dish in my electric skillet, and she had the whole stove to herself. We will take the oven and divide it in half, make sure our dishes will both fit inside of our oven. We accommodate for what we need for our families. She gets to shop for her family, I get to shop for ours. So we just for me and my husband, that is, because we do have a different limitations in our diet than they do. They fall under the All-American. We, diabetic and Mediterranean. But we make it work. So when we do our shopping, this is how we do it. Now in the canning, even she's finding the economy is starting to hurt all of us very badly. So we are starting to think smarter on what can we do for the future. Also, with my husband and our son, which is her husband, are both working at the same company, and both had the situation, winter is coming. So not only do we have what's going on in the economy, but we also have seasonal work. So we are both putting our heads together. What will accommodate both our families? What can we put on the shelf, and what can we do to help us through in a hard season? Whether it be economy, whether it be weather, whatever. The case is, what can you do for you and your family? Where can you get the best right now? If you are able to do something, take every opportunity when you are able to do it, because you don't know if you're going to be able to later on. I've always known that, okay, say I'm taking my opportunity now, and I'm going to make a Sam's Haul run this weekend, okay? Do I need it? No, I don't need it right now. But I'm going to do it anyways. Now I'm going to do what I said I'm going to do. I'm going to stock up my pantry, and okay, a month or two later came down the line, and our income just dropped. I, at this point, don't know how I'm going to keep us going. But see, I did something a few months back. I prepared my family for whatever situation, because I was paying attention to my grocery prices. I was paying attention to our gas prices. I was paying attention to our seasons. And all of these were leading me in the direction I need to go to prepare my family. Am I a prepper? Some would say I am. I will prep for at least a year or two. I do not regret that, y'all. Now, will I take my entire house and cover it in prepared foods or stuff? I'm going to simply tell you no. There's barely enough room for me and my husband. Now we got a family of 7. Then to do that, that's just, to me, no, it's unnecessary. But to prepare for a season or 2 seasons, yes, I absolutely will do that. Whether it is my dry goods, whether it is my freezer, or whether it is my pantry shelf. So I'm hoping these tips are going to help you while we are waiting for our canner. And I will be back at this point to take you to the next step after our first 10-minute steam. Again, I do this. This is basically routine on every canning, but I want to keep reminding you, keep encouraging you, and the more meat stuff that I come up with, I will do. So far, we are doing chicken. We have done hamburger meat, and we have actually made chicken meals in a jar. We do have more to come, and I promise you, just like I did these, I will go ahead and make those videos for you so that you also have the opportunity to stock your shelves with variety meals and be prepared for whatever comes your way. So until the steamer comes up, we will be right back. Okay, y'all, so our 10-minute timer went off, our stopper is up, our steam is still going, and now we're going to put this on here. We're going to, at this point, set our pressure up to 10 psi for our altitude. How I put this on, just so you know, you see it's at this angle. I will keep my hands away from that steam as it's extremely hot. Gently, I will cover it and just leave it alone. Now I'm going to watch my pressure gauge come up. At this time, we will set our timer for 75 minutes, which is an hour and 15 minutes processing time for our chicken. Then we will be back as soon as all of this is done, and I will show you where we go from there and what the chicken will look like after we take it out of our canner. So I'm gonna bring this up to pressure, going to set my timer, work through this, do my 75 minutes, and we will be back. Alright, our 75-minute timer just went off. So at this point, we turn the stove off. We let this come down all the way down to 0 in pressure. This button drops. Then for that, we wait. The book says to actually wait 5 minutes. I tend to wait 10 minutes. I am learning to get less siphon. I wait a little longer. So once this dial gauge drops down with no pressure left, this button drops down, releasing all pressure. And then I wait 10 more minutes before I remove this stopper right here. So once I get to this point, I will show you what I do to try to prevent as much siphoning as possible. So once we get everything to where it needs to be, we will be right back. Okay, y'all, so everything has dropped. Our dial gauge has dropped. Our button here for our holding our pressure has dropped. Now we're on 10-minute waiting before we remove this piece right here. And at that point, I will open up this lid and leave it for another 10 minutes. So we will be back. Alright, 10 minutes is up. I took the stopper off of this nozzle. I turn around and open this up. Now I'm just going to open this barely. Let this rest for 10 minutes again before I remove the lid and take the jars out. We'll set our timer once again. Okay, y'all, so 10 minutes of everything is up. So I am now going to slowly remove the lid to my canner. I'm going to check and make sure if there was any siphoning out of my jars. And I actually am not seeing hardly any, if any, at all. So there might have been just a tad bit, but I did not lose a lot, y'all. So I'm going to come in here, pull my jars out and show you what we look like. We have herbed chicken, and these are going to be set up to be put up to get their seals. So once I get this done, we'll be right back. Alright, y'all, so with the leftover broth that we had for canning, I turned this into, since there's a cold going around with everybody, I turned it into Italian wedding soup for me and the hubby. This is a low carb version and Mediterranean. We are using fresh onions, carrots, spinach. I have turkey meatballs. I have chicken broth and some Italian seasoning and red pepper flakes in this, and a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. So the breading that used as a binder for the meatballs, actually I used hubby's low carb all-purpose breadcrumbs for him, and so I just made them all together. So I am going to be setting this up to end this video with you, and we will be right back. And that will be it, you all. So all the jars are up. They are absolutely beautiful. They are a whole lot prettier than the ones I did last year, so I think I will keep doing this method. As far as flavor, I will find out once I take and taste them when we open them. Again, for those of you who are new, I really need to emphasize this. It does not get spoken too much. I am going to encourage you, when you store your jars up on your shelves, remove the rings. After 12 to 24 hours, I always take my rings, I will remove them, wash my jars, and then I will put them on my shelf. I never store my jars with my rings on. If I did that, I would have never caught the lid that came off in my pantry. It would cause a false seal, and it would actually cause a lot of damage to families and a bad stench within your pantry. So I'm going to encourage you to please remove those rings. Don't store anything with your rings on. Also, if you were to double stack, put cardboard between your jars. Once a month, check your lids and everything I do. Regardless, I check my lids at least every month to make sure I catch, like I did today, one of my broth canning jars that really hurt. It really hurt, but I'd rather find out than not find out at all. These lids are popping left and right, y'all. These 4 jars lids, I am going to look at ordering them. I am having a fantastic rate at these lid sealing. So to the angel once again who sent these to me, they are amazing. God bless you, and I thank you so much. This is my second round of jars that I am canning with them, and I absolutely love them. So until next time, y'all, I hope this video helped you. Until next time, much love from Parton's Heritage Homestead.